So René Girard, there are many thinkers whose ideas enrich us, inspire us. We read them and we can glean something from it. But occasionally somebody like a Darwin, a Einstein, a Heisenberg comes along and their ideas changes everything. Girard was such a revolutionary thinker. And part of what makes his thought so revolutionary is, like Darwin, he took information from many domains, from many areas, and brought them together into a coherent narrative that touched on philosophy, theology, psychology, neurology. It touched on so many areas of knowledge. And so sometimes people find it difficult to categorize the thought of Girard. But I think the strand that connects all these different ideas is an anthropological narrative. It's the story of what makes us human. Now, one of the unique aspects of Girard is that he did not shy away from the more difficult aspects about human history. So he recognized that there were blind spots in the way in which we told our stories, and he would not let us ignore that. As such, he was often quite critical of certain strands of philosophy that tried to just give a positive spin on the development of humanity. He wouldn't let us forget those blind spots, and it is that realism that made his narrative so convincing. And that is what makes it so relevant as well, because this story, this history is still deeply embedded in our psyche, in our being. It is the story of what made us human. So that's important. It's not just the human story. It's not just the story that humans told, but it's the very process that transformed us from animals to humans. And so, when Girard was received into the French Academy, a number of essays were written by his colleagues, his students, people from different disciplines. And all of them started testifying to the profound impact he had within their specific areas. And I think Jean-Michel Augelian summarized it the best. He said, "My life can be divided into two parts, before and after I met Girard." And one after another, the other intellectuals could say exactly the same thing. Now, obviously, when a person's ideas touches on so many areas and fundamentally overturns it, initially people weren't excited about Girard's idea, because here's a psychologist, a psychologist who spent his life in a certain area, and here's somebody who's not a psychologist, who's suggesting something that fundamentally changes my discipline, or a historian, or a theologian. So there were many years in which his ideas were subjected to strong critique and scrutiny. But after many years, many of these people came back from these different disciplines and said, there's nothing that has the explanatory power to make sense of all this data as powerfully as mimetic theory, which is what Girard became known for. For ourselves, for Marianne and myself, we can also look at our theological journey and say there is a before and after we encountered the ideas of René Girard. They have made a profound impact in that area.